Hey friends, Dave here at Transfer Express, and today I want to show you how easy it is to print direct-to-film transfers on Headwear. Now we're going to be using the Ultra Color Max direct-to-film transfers from Transfer Express today, as well as covering what settings to use on the Hotronix 360 IQ hat press. We're also going to cover some tips for printing on different types of hats, that foam front, maybe the unstructured, and even some structured hats. So are you ready? Let's get right to printing. If you are new to Transfer Express, we are the world's largest supplier of custom screen printed and digital heat transfers, heat presses, free customizable designs, wholesale apparel, and expert advice to help grow your t-shirt business. If you haven't already, subscribe. We're kicking out new videos like this one every single week. Now to kick us off here, I do want to mention that while there's actually tons of direct-to-film out on the market these days, not all DTF is created equal. Number one, you're going to want a print that's going to look great and last. That is first and foremost, right? And that comes down to quality equipment, adhesives, and application. Now with Ultra Color Max here at Stahls Transfer Express, we have over 90 years of apparel decoration experience, technology, reputation, and customer service backing up these heat transfers. Thing number two to look for, a low application temperature. With direct-to-film capable of printing on cotton, polyester, blends, lycra, and even spandex fabrics, you'll want to ensure that you have a temperature that's not going to damage those fabrics, just like the polyester hat options that we're going to be printing here today. Now, some DTF options print as high as 340 degrees, much too hot for headwear. Ultra Color Max applies at 1, low temperature at 290 degrees, safe for the vast majority of fabrics you're going to encounter as a decorator. Now, the final thing that we could look for, and one of the most important aspects, is a hot peel transfer. Now, cold peel DTF transfers typically involve delays in production, having to wait for pieces to cool down before removing the carrier. And then, because you're removing that carrier cold, they usually leave the transfer peeling up, maybe a little bit around the edges, or a gloss-like finish on the transfer, which kind of looks a little cheap. And then it involves a time-consuming second step when you have to cover the graphic and repress, something that you don't have to do with Ultra Color Max transfers. So Ultra Color Max, the transfer peels effortlessly after one 12 to 15 second application. No edges to go back and check for and repress, no need to get a cover sheet, nothing. No, just an efficient and quick application with a great premium feel and look to the transfer. If you're interested in learning more about direct-to-film, we put a video together all about the direct-to-film process last year that we'll link right here and down in the description below. Today we're going to be using the Hotronix 360 IQ heat press. Now there's a few incredible features of this press, and I'm not going to get into all of them today. You could look at those online, but I do want to mention a couple things. This patented lower platen, which is going to make our printing today frustration-free. With the tapered shape on the backside, it almost all but eliminates the dreaded crease that's fairly common on most other cap heat presses. Part of this lower platen is a heating element too, which makes decorating dimensional emblems and patches an absolute breeze, but we're actually going to turn it off here for our use today. So let's get our settings dialed in for our Ultra Color Max direct-to-film heat transfers. We're going to get our temperature dialed in to 290 degrees for our top heat, and like I mentioned, we're going to turn our bottom heat off, and you could click off when setting this temperature just by clicking off right here on the bottom. Now next up, our time. We're going to go with a 15-second application, and then we're going to dial in our pressure. Now since Ultra Color Max is not a dimensional product, we don't need that lower heat, but you may find that the lower heat could actually help conform or mold structured hats to the platen a little bit better. If that's the case, you could turn it on, but please be cautious you're not going to be exposing the direct-to-film transfer to too much heat. One way to do that without turning the bottom on is just giving it a light pre-press to get it to seat properly right there on the press. So let's get on over to our 360 heat press right here to get printing. Our first option here today is the Port Authority C937, which is a flex fit 110 foam front outdoor trucker hat. Really, really like this hat. Super lightweight, and the foam is like crushable and bendable, and it goes right back to where it was. So it's a great, super lightweight outdoor adventure hat, perfect for hot summer days. But it is a foam front trucker cap, so while this is on our press, we do just want to be cautious not to push the foam because it may dimple and never recovers. So that's one thing to always be cautious of when you're printing anything with this polyester foam, similar to koozies or trucker hats just like this. So just like printing with the 360, I am going to flip the sweatband out and we'll go around from the outside. Just getting that nice, smooth, flat, even surface right here on the top. And I'll lower our kind of tension arm there. Now, just wanna make sure that we have a nice, smooth, flat, even contact right here, which looks great. So we're gonna go ahead and pull our press down. Our Ultracolor Max transfer is gonna come in here today. So what you can do is just fold this over to kind of give it a little bit of a crease. So it's gonna sit a little bit better on the hat. And now we have a center line of our graphic nice and marked. So we're actually gonna put that one right here. Now once we look good with the placement, we could go ahead and close the press. No cover sheet, no pad, no nothing. Nothing necessary except just the transfer. The 360 opens by itself, and we'll peel the carrier away immediately, just like that, nice and smooth. And then, with taking that care not to touch our foam, we'll release our lever and pull the hat right on up and off. Now, option number 2 here today is going to be the Port Authority C940 ripstop cap, right? So this is a nice semi-structured cap. What we want to do is go ahead and pull the cardboard insert right on out of this thing. We're not going to need that for printing here today. Now we are going to be, on this one, we're going to be printing right on the side. So we're not necessarily going to be going over the seam, but we're going to print right here on this patch. And as you can see, this hat is it's sewn with the structure into it and double layer into the front, if you could see that. So it is double layered here on the front, but it is still not, I wouldn't call that a structured hat. We'll call it semi-structured. So the same thing that we did to the first one, we're gonna pull our sweatband up and down and rotate in from the side to get on press. So once we are here in a good spot, put some tension on that hat. I'm gonna pull the sides to make sure that we are nice and flush and we're not gonna see any wrinkles or anything here. Looks great. And we're gonna give this one just a little bit of a kiss for a pre-press. And like I mentioned, you could kind of work this hat onto the platen with a little bit of that heat. And that's what that lower heat really starts to help with. So looks great. All right, and we could take our Juice King graphic and place it right here. But because I'm on the side and I'm worried about this falling down, we could tape it, or because we do have the 360, we could actually rotate our hat to put our print area front and center right here on the front of our machine. So once we are happy with the placement here, and then we have this loaded on nice and good, right where we want it, let's go ahead and just give it a little kiss again and make sure we have that placement set. So we'll grab our Juice King graphic and we'll place it right here where it needs to be. Again, we could fold it the other way just to give it a little bit of a curve so it doesn't want to lift as much. Once we're happy with the placement, we can go ahead and close the press and lock it down for that 15 seconds. So you can see here when we're pressing, we are at a 7 or 8 on pressure, so a little bit higher than the 5 medium range, but I just want to make sure, because we are not using any pads, that it's getting that right amount of pressure. And look at that, it's lifting up already by itself. We peeled it away hot, and we have a transfer that looks absolutely fantastic here on our semi-structured hat. Lastly, we have our structured Port Authority snapback flat bill, right? And this is the C116. So a really, really good economic-based flat bill option. Again, we'll go ahead and pull our cardboard right on out of this thing. And as you can see, now we have a full structured front of the hat. Now for our print, we're actually going to be going right over the middle seam here, just to show you what it looks like when we go ahead and put Ultracolor Max or direct film transfers over this front middle seam. So just like we did on all of our other hats, let's go ahead and flip our sweatband down, load in from the side on our 360, and we'll go ahead and snap this down. Now with this one, this is where we're going to have to really work in some of that heat where we have this large gap here with the actual structure of the hat. So we're gonna wanna apply a little bit of heat and work it into that. So instead of turning this on, I'm actually just gonna close the press down and hold it on down to heat up that lower platen. So we're not gonna be adding too much heat to our application. However, I just want some heat on that pad to help loosen up the fit and the structure of that cap just a little bit. Now that we have preheated that a little bit, it got some temperature up to it, I'm gonna go ahead and put the hat on here and we'll lock it on down. Now first I'm gonna work it down just by using this, and next I'm going to just add a little bit of pressure here. And as I work this hat into this platen just a little bit, you can see that now we don't have nearly as much space as we did where it's going down. So when we're here now, because we're not worried about getting a crease or anything, this is where we could apply just a little bit of heat with our test press. And this is also going to let us know kind of where we're at in the pressure range, because with a structured hat, you may need to back off the pressure just slightly. So now that we have this heated up, we can work this down into our platen just to ensure that we're not going to have any surprises when printing here. Now here we have our Spire Golf logo. I'm going to go ahead and place this one right so those little two creases right in the center of the image are right there on the hat. That way you make sure that you're not a little crooked one way or another. You're just right there, centered on the front of the hat. If you have any worries with it moving or staying put before you apply it, you could always tape it down. Once we're set with how that looks, we could go ahead, close, and apply. And it opens, and you can see it's already peeling. Grab the rest of it and peel it right on off. And you can see what a fantastic print that we got. And you can see it does actually bridge this seam really quite well. Now, if you want it to sit down in the seam, you absolutely could use your fingernail or just a small tool to kind of push it into that seam. But we want to leave it how it is today, kind of bridging the gap and closing that up a little bit and not showing that seam. So we're going to leave it just as is, and that's going to be completely fine to wear. So with the right settings dialed in, the right direct-to-film transfer, and the right heat press, you've got yourself a recipe for some quality printed headwear. Now, adding hats and caps with direct-to-film transfers could be a new source of revenue that you could add on to your existing apparel business today, like right now, right? So as always, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the Transfer Express YouTube page right here. Stay up to date on all of the helpful t-shirt printing tips, tricks, inspiration, and education that we're dropping every single week. But until next time, I'm Dave. Happy pressing.